Hi, guys. Hope you're doing well today. It's Fred and Sheila with Hatfield McCoy Museum Adventures and Fred and Sheila Investigates.
Hey guys, thanks. We're going to do part two in reference to the boards that are at Chief Logan Park in West Virginia,
Okay.
um, Chief Logan Lodge Conference Center, and these were placed there evidently, according to Mr. Keith Davis, by the Hatfields and McCoy's Historical Society. Now, there may be several of these. I, I'm thinking of the one that they have there at Logan County at the cemetery. I'm thinking about William Keith Hatfield, who claims to be a descendant or did claim. I don't know if he still is now or not, but
Hmm.
it's been proven that he's not a descendant of Devil Anse or Tennis Hatfields. I've got more videos on that coming up on Fred McCoy 40 that you'll still want to go watch. I think I got four more parts to a series on that. But the Hatfield McCoy Historical Society evidently made these boards up, and the real beautiful boards cost a bunch of money, I'll bet. They look real good, but probably as far as truthfulness, not worth starting a fire out of. That there's no truth to them. And guys, when does it stop? When does it stop? When do they finally figure out that people are tired of it? People's just saying, we're not going to stand for it anymore. We're going to start calling you out. We're going to call you out on donations. We're going to call you out on tombstones. We're going to call you out on fake history. We're going to call you out on new stories that you're starting. We're going to call you out on your DNA about who you're related to or who you're not related to. Not just not just the couple that we've done so far, but all of them. Anybody that represents a tourism, historical society, or anything else, if they say that they're a descendant of somebody, they should be a descendant. You shouldn't be allowed to, and you're not allowed to. It's fraud. And especially if there's money involved, especially if people's making money from it, from donations, and they're thinking that you're somebody that you're not, that's fraud. That's an imposter. These boards were put up evidently by the Hatfield McCoy Historical Society over and they're in West Virginia, and we're going to discuss them. This board right here, she's going to bring up. This will be part two. This will be a short video. The third one I think is a good one. The third one's really going to have some truth with proof. But let's just read this right here.
Bring me that 60 there.
The sad story of Randolph McCoy got more tragic over the years. After losing 5 of her 16 children to the feud, his wife Sally. Guys, Randall's wife's name was Sarah. Throughout the years, certain people have said, oh, we called her Sally. I remember William Keith in the same newspaper article where William Keith says that this is the minister, William Keith Hatfield, says, and the only thing Hatfield about him, evidently, is the last name that Sally kept, or not Sally, but Sadie
Sadie.
kept when she was divorced from Tennis Hatfield. She kept the Hatfield name and she was pregnant or got pregnant, and she named her next child Hatfield, and that's where the name come from. Name only, no blood relation to Tennis Hatfield. But in a newspaper article that William Keith Hatfield done years ago, and I'll probably put it in here at the back of this video, but it says we like to call her Sally. Hatfield's called her. William Keith didn't even know where Devil Anse and Cap Hatfield and them was buried at. Leslie Rivers, the granddaughter of Dr. Moore, had to show him where the Cap Hatfield Cemetery was. Then he went on to do a presentation of a gun. He went on to do a presentation of a gun at the Big Sandy Museum. Big Sandy Museum, the same place that supposedly has Asa McCoy's bed. They don't know where Asa McCoy's buried at or where his body is, but they've got his bed. And then they allowed their establishment and everybody that was there to be there while William Keith made a presentation of a pistol that William Keith says that his grandfather was given as an award or something during the Civil War, a deserter presented with a pistol. And they stood there and listened to that. I've got a video on it. I've got a video, and I'm really swaying, and I can feel her knee down here. So she's telling me to get back on course, but go to back on Sheila's videos here, way back towards the back. You'll see one on William Keith Hatfield making a gun presentation. But in the same newspaper article that he calls the McCoys vermin and horse thieves and pig kissers, William Keith says that. He also says we always called Sarah Sally. Really? He always called her that? I don't know how old William Keith is, but I don't think he ever met Sarah McCoy. I don't think he ever met Randall and Sarah. Guys, there's so much mistruth to this, and they'll shovel it as long as you'll stand there and listen to it. And people have listened to it for years and years. And now finally, we start calling it out. And boy, they're complaining left and right. They're complaining. We've listened to them shovel it out for 27 years. And that we start bringing it out and pointing the finger at them. And we just want to mind our own business. Leave us alone. I'm sorry. Quit making AI generated pictures of victims. Quit victimizing people all over again. Let's read this board here. This one board here is all we're going to do. The sad story of Randolph McCoy got more tragic over the years after losing 5 of her 16 children to the feud. His wife, Sally, died in the 1890s, broken-hearted. Of course, any mother would be. Randolph burned to death while tending a cook fire in 1914 at the age of 88 and was buried in Pikeville. Guys, Randolph McCoy burned to death while tending a cook fire. Where was that ever investigated at? You talk about a conspiracy. You talk about something. If a man's 88 years old and he's on his deathbed and he's senile already and Alzheimer's, do you make a big deal out of somebody's death like that after one of the biggest feuds in the history of Kentucky and West Virginia? Do you make a big deal out of it and say, wait a minute, did he fall in the fire? See, Randall McCoy never regained consciousness. He never got to tell nobody what happened. Oh, I fell in the fire. Or Cap Hatfield pushed me in the fire. Or this person done that or that. Cap Hatfield swore all his life that he would get even with Randall McCoy. He swore that he would get to Randall McCoy one day. One day. Did he? I don't know. But William Keith and the West Virginia Hatfields and the North Carolina McCoys and the Chillicothe, Ohio McCoys and the Virginia Hatfields, they're so good at all these stories and making up stories. What if a story's not made up? What if they're making up stories, but the truth is out there, but nobody's investigated it? Did Randall McCoy fall in a fire? Very possible. We wasn't there. We don't know.
Right.
What was the West Virginia Hatfield's MO? What was Devil Anse's MO? What was Jim Vance's MO? What was Cap Hatfield's MO? Bushwhacking. Get you from the bush or burn your home down. Set fire to your home. That is the reason that Asa McCoy was hiding in a cave. He didn't want them to set fire to his cabin and his wife and children, his pregnant wife, be inside. So we don't know, and it says here about Randall McCoy died in a cook fire. We don't know it was a cook fire. We don't know if he was pushed in the fire. If the house was supposed to burn down, it just didn't catch. It didn't take off. Or he beat him, put him in the fire, thought he was dead, but somehow things happen in life.
Also, I would like to comment on one thing there. They was talking about Sarah, how she died of a broken heart, which I'm sure she did, but she also had the fire beat out of her. And I don't think she fully recovered
Babe, thanks.
from the beating that she took.
Yeah, died from a broken heart, Mr. Hatfield, or did she die from the beating that Jim Vance and Johnsy gave her with their rifle butts?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. We don't never bring up things like that. We don't bring up Devil Anse was a deserter. We don't bring up the 4 pigs that Ellis and Hatfield stole from the Kentucky McCoys and was found guilty. We don't bring up the fact that Sarah was beaten and left for dead.
Mhm.
We don't bring up nothing like that. Those things are left out. Thanks, babe. You're right.
You're welcome.
Devil ants, on the other hand. Now this is for William Keith. This is your Hatfield history. This is your written by a West Virginia. It's written by a man with the name of Hatfield. It's not written by a West Virginia Hatfield. It's written by Oklahoma Hatfield, a Detroit, Dearborn, Michigan Hatfield. I got you, punk. But it is. It is. Devil Anse Hatfield, on the other hand, lived many years after the feud and seemed to relish in his fame. He was a narcissist. He was a narcissist. Sure was. Relish in his fame. In his fame, guys. In his fame from what? What kind of fame did Devil Anse Hatfield have? Was he the inventor of the polio shot? Did he cure polio? Did he cure the scarlet fever? What was he known for? Devil Anse Hatfield was known from New York to California for starting the name of hillbilly for the people from Appalachia. Hillbilly. William, short for William, is Bill, and he's from the hills. Hillbilly. T.C. Crawford would come in and say, "Where's that hillbilly at? Where's that hillbilly at? Where's the old hillbilly?" And that's how the name come about. Devil Anse Hatfield is the godfather of the name hillbilly for all those from Appalachia. That's what he's known for. Wait a minute. What else could he be known for? Oh, that's right. Murderland. T.C. Crawford said, "I'm going to Murderland. I've been in Murderland. Murderland. Savages. Where the savages live." Savages? When did he visit Randall McCoy? Remember? Randall McCoy sent word, didn't want to talk to him, didn't want no interview, didn't want to get the kids together on the porch with their guns and stand there and pose for pictures. So where did he come up with the word hillbilly? And where did he come up with the scavengers, the savages? Where did he come up with that at? Hmm. Same place when he talked to Cap Hatfield. Same thing when he talked to Devil Anse. He talked to these people. T.C. Crawford talked to these people. Now, he says that Devil Anse relished in his fame. Charles Manson, did he relish in his fame? Jeffrey Dahmer, did he relish in his fame? John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, did these people relish in their fame because Adolf Hitler? Did Adolf Hitler, Saddam Hussein, did they relish in their fame? Because all these people were known for killing people. All these people were known for being murderers. Did they relish in their fame? Devil Anse is relishing in his fame. He's a murderer. He's known for being a savage. He's known for tying people, boys up, stripping them down naked, and tying them up to trees and getting 19 of his best friends online and assassinating them. One of them, a 15-year-old boy.
Who was innocent.
Who was innocent,
Yeah.
who was not even involved in a fight. The other ones, we don't know that was guilty of anything. We don't know they was guilty of anything that wouldn't have been considered self-defense. We couldn't find that out. It didn't make it to court. Some people says, well, they didn't have that good of court systems. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yes, they did. They had court systems being. They indicted the 20 Hatfields within a month. They done indicted them before a grand jury in Pikeville, Kentucky. They had justice systems in West Virginia, Kentucky. It was well established. He could always let them went to trial. If he didn't get the verdict he wanted or didn't get his way, he could have always killed them down the road. You're going to take these people and kill them before they even have a chance to go to trial? You're going to take the law into your own hand? He relished in his fame. I don't want to harp on it, but listen to this. This man's bragging because he said Devil Anse, on the other hand, lived many years after the feud. Well, Devil Anse died in 1921. Randall McCoy died in 1914.
Mm-hmm.
7 years. 7 years difference. Guess what, guys? There was a 14-year age difference between Devil Anse and Randall. I assume this is William Keith. I could be wrong, but they said West Virginia Hatfield McCoy Historic Society. So it's William Keith is the president. I assume this is what he's typed up and written. He wants to act like Devil Anse lived so much longer than, and he lived many years after the feud. Goes on to say that Devil Anse went on to, he found Christianity late in life and became a celebrity, setting for interviews with reporters and posing for photos. Posing for photos, guys, for sending your boys, not going yourself. Remember, he got sick. Remember when they were going to go burn the cabin down, there was 13 of them going. 13. Cap and Johnsy had got 13 of their friends. There was 13 in all. But when they went to get Anse said, guys, I ain't feeling well tonight. I'm not going. You guys go on. Take care of business. Some of the guys on their way, they said, wait, Anse, we'll wait for another day. We'll go tomorrow. We'll go. No, you guys go on. We need to get this done. And as they start riding off, 2 or 3 of them says, shucks, if it's not important enough for Anse to go, why do I want to stick my neck out? I'm going back home. And in the end, there was only 9 of them, that went to the cabin because they didn't want to go without Anse. What kind of father sends his brothers or lets his brothers go to prison, lets his nephews be killed, sends his sons to burn a man's cabin down and shoot his kids and grandkids and his uncle? Who does that? And then people act like this man is a hero. This minister here wants to say what a hero this man was that went for interviews and was treated like a celebrity. You know, they treated Charles Manson like a celebrity, guys. He was on TV anytime he wanted an interview. All he had to do was put it out there, and they'd give him an interview. Didn't mean he was a good guy. Setting for interviews with reporters. When he died of pneumonia in 1921 at the age of 81. See, guys, he died at age 81. Randall McCoy died at the age of 88. Randall McCoy was born 14 years earlier than Devil Anse Hatfield. So, and he says he lived long after the feud. Randall McCoy lived a longer life than Devil Anse Hatfield. He was an old man. His funeral, they're talking about Devil Anse here. His funeral was one of the largest in Logan County history. A life-size. His funeral was one of the largest in Logan County history. Was it? Was it? Guys, the pictures you see, and Sheila and I have put them in our books, and maybe Sheila can show one of them here.
Okay, I'll put them in.
Yeah. Guys, since when do you have a funeral with a podium out in the middle of the yard with people either up there dancing or giving speeches? Or since when do you have a funeral with a podium out in the yard? Since when do you? I'll tell you what, you can read My Appalachia. You mentioned it earlier today. We were just talking about it earlier. My Appalachia by the Attorney General of West Virginia at one time. And he wrote a book about where Devil Anse Hatfield and Cap and all of them would. You've heard the Bible story where it says kill the fatted calf. They killed the fatted ox. When Henry Drury Hatfield ran for governor, when Tennis ran for sheriff, when there was a political office, Devil Anse was a political person. He had to be, or they would have extradited him back. They were big. They killed the ox. They put an ox in the ground and charcoal or whatever, coal, and they cooked an ox, not a calf, not a pig, an ox. You can imagine how many people is going to attend a political rally if you're cooking an ox and giving free beef away. That's not a funeral they're showing in all those pictures, guys. That's not a funeral they're showing. In fact, it rained. It stormed. It was 30 degrees that day, freezing cold, the day of Devil Anse's funeral. Look up on the graveyard. Look at the umbrellas. Well, right there
Mhm.
you go. Look at the bottom left-hand picture here.
Yep.
Look at the bottom left-hand. See the umbrellas? Thank you, Lord. I'm so glad that's there. I didn't even plan. Didn't even think about that, guys. First of all, look at the umbrellas. Second of all, look at the crowd. The biggest crowd that's ever been to a funeral in Logan County. What do we got there? 40, 50 people? 40 to 50 people? But more important, let's change the subject. Let's read the next line. A life size marble statue made in Italy stands over the grave at Sarah Ann. We made an improvement, Sheila and I have.
Mm.
Sheila and I, 27 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever it was, guys, we have no books for sale. We have no books for sale. 900-page book. What's the title there? Monument for a Murderer. America's bloodiest feud. That's what it was known for. Only 12 people killed during the feud, but it was America's bloodiest feud. It was the thing where they would overkill. They would strip them naked, tie them to trees and kill them, set their houses on fire, shoot them when they come out of the cabin. It was overkill. But the title of that book, Monument for a Murder. I remember when I was a little boy and they'd done a story on Devil Anse and the Hatfields, West Virginia Hatfields, and Bernie Hatfield. Anybody from Blackberry? Bernie Hatfield. Anybody from Blackberry will remember Bernie Hatfield. Bernie Hatfield and my father was good friends, great friends. Bernie lived up Little Blue Spring there at Blackberry, behind Blackberry Grade School. In fact, there's a picture in our book where they're baptizing a guy underneath the Blackberry Bridge. They're baptizing him. That's where we fish bomb, the schoolhouse bridge. That's Bernie Hatfield. They're baptizing there back in the 50s or 60s, I think it was. But him and Dad was big friends. And we got the Wimpson Daily News and we're looking through it and they had Devil Anse's picture. It's downstairs in the museum, the picture is. And it's talking about the monuments, Devil Anse Hatfield's monument and how big it was. And the anniversary of the feud or whatever it might have been. And Bernie Hatfield, a Kentucky Hatfield, looks at that and he said, a monument for a murderer. That was a Hatfield. That was a Kentucky Hatfield. That's how the Kentucky Hatfield felt about the West Virginia Hatfield, Devil Anse Hatfield. He was sitting there. He's a big old heavy set fella. He's 3, 4, 500 pounds. He'd sit on a lard. We had big old 25-gallon lard buckets there, and he would sit on that lard bucket and bibbed overhauls. And he said that, and that stood out to me. I was a little young fella. Monument for a Murderer. And Sheila and I, like I said, I wrote book reports and kept notes and different things from different people. And we wrote in our first book, the title of it was Monument for a Murderer. And we wrote in that book that Devil Anse Hatfield because we found a May the 22nd, 1944 Life magazine. In fact, Mother's got 4 of them in the museum downstairs. She collected them, 4 Life magazines, May the 22nd, 1944. And in that magazine, Joe Hatfield's looking up at his father's monument. He says that he watched his father, when he was a younger fella, pull that monument up on the hill there with 2 mules. Pulled the monument up on the hill, and he got up there, and his dad, Devil Anse, said, this looks like a good dry place for a grave. And that's where he set his monument. Over the years, we found the reports from the Department of Interior where they had sent off and they had got the cemetery ruled a historical site. And in order to do that, they said in 1926, the family had ordered a monument for Devil Anse Hatfield. 1926, they ordered a monument from Italy. Guys, look in the background there. Look at that picture there, that big old white thing standing there in the middle over top of all those umbrellas, over top of all those people. That's Devil Anse Hatfield's monument. He died January the 6th, 1921. January 6th, I think it was 6th or 7th. I know Asa Harmon McCoy died January the 7th when they killed him. I think Devil Anse was January the 6th, but 1921. Look what's in the background there at Devil Anse's funeral, guys. That's his big monument. It's already there. Now, they wrote in these historical papers and in all the books that Devil Anse's family set that monument for him in 1926. Wow. If they said it in 1926, how can it be there in 1921? Hmm. Sheila and I brought it up. Sheila knows.
Yeah, yeah, we seen a picture there of Chauncey's grave afterwards.
Yeah.
The following year, and then it's a freshly dug grave, and there's
Yeah. And
his
how'd that
monument as
come up?
well.
Because people started arguing and people said, oh, you guys are wrong. That's not Devil Anse's funeral. That's when they had all gathered together to dedicate the monument in 1926. Oh, really? They wore the same clothes. They wore the same clothes. That's a bad picture there, but if you get you a good picture and look at them,
I can try to post it
no,
here.
it's okay. But we've got boards made in the museum. We've done videos. We've done entire videos on this subject. And they said that was 1926. They were dedicating the monument. It rained on that day, too, and everybody wore the same clothes they wore to the funeral. 1926, really? Like Sheila just said, guys, after she done some research and starts looking around, Anse Hatfield died April of 1922. He died 14 months after his father. Anse Hatfield died 14 months after Devil Anse Hatfield. At Chauncey's funeral, you can see the freshly dug grave of Anse Hatfield off to the right of Devil Anse's grave. Guess what's in the background over top of Devil Anse's grave? That monument right there.
Yep.
So that blew their theory all to pieces. That blew their rumor, their tale, their lie. It blew it all to pieces because the monument was there when Devil Anse died, but even if it wasn't, it was there when Chauncey died 14 months later. It wasn't put there in 1926 by the family. Devil Anse set his own monument. And he was a smart man if you look back, because just like the statue of Paul Patton, they put a statue of Paul Patton in Pikeville, Kentucky. I assume Judy had something to do with it. Judy at one time was over the Pike County tourism. Everybody's intertwined. You won't see Jay Shepard or Tackett, Tony Tackett. You won't see them put a distorted picture up of Paul Patton, I'll bet you, in Pike County tourism. They'll show that big statue of him there for years to come for people to think this was an honorable governor. This man didn't leave the governorship of Kentucky in disgrace. He didn't embarrass the residents of Pike County that we had a Pike Countyan that became governor only to be disgraced and embarrassment to the people of Pike County. So many stories goes off of this Hatfield and McCoy history for me that I could talk about from now on. There's the monument. There he is talking about posing for pictures and that he relished his fame. He relished his fame from killing Randall McCoy's family. It's not a Hatfield McCoy feud, a Hatfield McCoy, all Hatfields and all McCoys and all. It wasn't like that. It was two families. Contrary to what Rio Hatfield and Ron McCoy want you to think, it wasn't. My great grandparents got married, Hatfield and a McCoy. Nancy Hatfield married Asa McCoy in 1875. Guys, this is people wanting to make a name for themselves. This is historical society wanting to charge you to go on a bus tour so they can tell you a bunch of garbage. And it doesn't matter if it's the truth or not, as long as it's interesting to you and they can hold your attention. Babe, you got anything? I wanna say so much more, but we've been 30 minutes. I didn't expect this one to be that long. Have I left anything out that you wanna add?
No, I think you covered everything
And
pretty
probably
good.
and a bag of chips. And a bag of chips.
I think that's
Guys, I don't
fair.
mean to be, again, I hope Devil Anse Hatfield, a while ago we had technical difficulty. I said this in the last video, but it cut it out. Our video wasn't recording, and we did an entire video, and the mics wasn't on. But I said it earlier, I hope Devil Anse Hatfield's in heaven with Randall McCoy. I
Sure.
hope they're rejoicing. I hope all is well. I don't hate Devil Anse Hatfield. I hate what Devil Anse Hatfield did back in those days. I hate that he was a bad guy. And the more guys that he had with him, it seemed like the meaner he was. He was tough when there was numbers around. He was tough when he had friends around. And he done things that was unspeakable to another man's family. He done things that were unspeakable to Randall McCoy's family and his kids. But in 1911, he got a taste of his own medicine, not from Randall McCoy, not from Jim McCoy, not from Floyd McCoy, not from Sam or Paris. He got a taste of his own medicine in 1911 from Jerome.
Octavia Jerome.
Thank
I
you,
think
babe.
it is.
Octavia Jerome. Over a turf war up in West Virginia, over moonshine or whiskey. Turf war over who was going to sell a certain saloon their alcohol. And Jerome killed two of Devil Anse's sons, Detroit and Elias. He killed two of them. Devil Anse in 1911, made a change in his life. He lost two sons. He lost two children. He about went crazy. He joined church. It wasn't the devil's church no more. He wasn't an atheist no more. He joined church. There's his preacher. There's Dyke Garrett, the man that preached to him and got him to be saved. Thank the Lord. We're glad for that.
That's right.
We're glad for that. Look what losing two of his children done. They said he was broken, a broken man. He went and joined church, got baptized with a pistol in his pocket. He couldn't take his rifle, but he had his pistol. But imagine, he lost two children. And I tell these people sometimes, Ron McCoy, I tell these people, imagine, Ron McCoy says Randall McCoy went all over town just talking to himself, anybody he could talk to. First of all, on his death certificate, he was known to have senility, Alzheimer's, old timers back in them days, dementia nowadays. Talk to everybody. Was Ron there? Does Ron know? Or did Ron get that from Altina Waller's book when she says it on the History Channel and laughs and giggles like a little high school girl, like it's a joke? This man lost half his family. House was burnt down in the 1800s. Imagine building a cabin and working like you did to try to have a few things for your family. And somebody comes along and kills your children. A deserter, a person that's so embarrassed because you know his life. Every time he looks at Randall McCoy, Randall McCoy knows that he's a coward. He's a coward. He ran in the heat of battle. Now, he expected Randall and Uriah, my great-grandfather, all of them to get killed. He didn't know nobody was going to live through it and come back and say, yeah, he's a coward. Devil Anse Hatfield ran in the heat of battle. And he resented that. He resented Randall McCoy that Randall stayed and fought. And then we have Pike County Tourism and all these people that stands up and victimizes Randall McCoy, a Pike County family, victimizes the Kentucky Hatfields. By putting a monument of Devil Anse Hatfield on Blackberry Creek instead of Preacher Anse Hatfield or Basil Hatfield or Floyd, all the good, decent people, on Blackberry Creek, and they have to put a monument of the very man that tortured and burned people's houses and killed Pike County residents. Who gets hornswoggled that bad? What kind of tourism do we have there? Why are they not looking out for Pike Countyans and the heritage of the Pike County Hatfields and McCoys that grew up in Pike County? How in the world do they get hornswoggled so bad that somebody talked them into putting
Mhm.
a statue of the very bird.
There you go.
You're up, baby.
All right, guys. We sure hope you're doing well this evening. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll catch you on the next one. Bye. God bless.